Alongside Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the Volquest stock report for this Florida week. Stock up for you this week, Brent.
Stock up for me is the Tennessee defense in sudden change situations, Austin. When you look at Tennessee's turnovers, 6 turnovers on the year, 5 of those turnovers have put the opponent's offense starting in Tennessee territory, and Tennessee's given up 3 points. And that was on a 3 and out where it was negative yards. They've been really good in that situation. They've been put in that situation too many times. You don't want to be put into it on Saturday against Florida, but when put in that situation, they have handled the adversity very well. They're averaging less than 2 yards a play, the opponent is, when they've been, given those types of situations where it's been sudden change. So tip the cap to Tim Banks and his unit for the work they've got done in those type of situations they've been put in.
Stock up for me. I'm going to make it more centralized on defense. It's a defensive line. Just where that group, was a year ago and where they are now. 2 totally different places. Matthew Butler's obviously playing at a really high level and continues to grow. Now, he's more mature than the others, but he's taken advantage of that COVID 6th year and been super through the first 3 weeks. Tyler Barron continues to flash. I think Tyler Barron, this is a game for Tyler Barron, in my opinion. And then what can Byron Young give them to help a guy like Tyler Barron on the other side? So, for me, defensive line's been really, really good under Ronnie Garner, kind of, showing how they played a couple of years ago against Tracy, or for when they played for Tracy Rocker. So I'll go stock up, defensive line. Stock down for you.
Stock down for me has to be the run game, Austin. I mean, it's just one of those deals where Tennessee is just giving up way too many negative plays or not getting any push up front. It's not just the running backs. It's not just the offensive line. It's not just the tight ends. To me, it's all parties involved. They have got to push people better and run the football with some effectiveness if they're going to have a chance to win some conference games. This week is a monumental challenge, but they've got to get their ground game going in the right direction, because for the last 8 quarters, with the running backs getting the ball, it's not been going in the right direction. The best runners have been the quarterbacks, and that's not the scenario Josh Heupel and this offense want to be in the rest of the season.
Stock down for me, just the rivalry with Florida. I mean, you go back, Tennessee's last win at the Swamp, 2003. Since then, Tennessee's only won this game twice, 2004, 2016. They just, there have been several instances, and really a lot of them during the Butch Jones era, where Tennessee was the better team and found ways to lose that football game. Tennessee's not been competitive the last 3 years against the Gators. Can they find themselves in the second half with a chance to win? Would go a long way just to be competitive. You go back to 2009, Tennessee was basically a huge underdog against the Gators in that game. They lost 23-13. That was Lane Kiffin's year. Can Josh Heupel do the same this year and find his way into a second half football game, be competitive? And at that point, you kind of let the chips fall where they may, and you're playing with house money and see what happens. But for me, it's just stock down the matchup with Florida. It just never proves to be really good for Tennessee. Stock stagnant for you.
Stock stagnant for me is going to be the health of Paxton Brooks. And I think Paxton Brooks is going to be fine, and he's going to be ready to go on Saturday. But hamstrings are tricky, and you just don't know. He's not kicked off in a couple of games now after the first quarter in the Pittsburgh game. He didn't punt last week. And I get resting him. It makes a lot of sense. But, Austin, you do not want to go into the Swamp kicking with guys who don't have any experience. I just don't think that's the scenario for Tennessee. They've been really good on special teams. They need Paxton Brooks to be healthy and ready to go on Saturday. I will have my eyes pointed towards him in pregame to see how he kicks, because, again, do you want to take a freshman into the Swamp and ask him to handle punt duties? Do you want to go in there with Toby Wilson as the kickoff man, where touchbacks just aren't very realistic? And that's not his fault. That's just where the leg strength is right now. So I think getting Paxton Brooks on the field is important. He's stock stagnant for me, because I got to make sure that hamstring is good to go Saturday.
So you're telling me that Colby Morgan, going from kicking games for Oneida at the hostile environments like Coalfield and Oakdale, can't handle the Swamp?
No, look, he did a terrific job.
He did playing
really good job. He did a great job last week at home. I just don't think
it's hugely different.
You want to go in with a guy who's an all-conference type punter, and so you want punting. Because think about it. How many times has Florida changed the complexion of this game with a big kickoff return or a big punt return? Tennessee's been great on special teams. I don't think you want to stress those coverage units too much if you can help it.
Well, luckily for the Vols, I don't think Brandon James is back filling
That's
for the
true.
Gators like the glory days of Florida special teams. Stagnant for me. I'm just going to go Hendon Hooker. I mean, he's turned the ball over. He's shown flashes. He's shown touch, shown ability to make plays with his legs, being elusive, making people miss, but he's still turned that football over a little bit too much for everybody's liking. So to me, it's stock stagnant. He's not stock down. He's not stock up. He's kind of stock stagnant. We'll see how he does come up Saturday night at 7 o'clock as Tennessee takes on Florida in the Swamp. Of course, that is if Hendon Hooker starts the game against Florida. For Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the Volquest Stock Report.